Balatro is a modern update to an age-old game that takes everything you remember about your college poker nights and amps it up to 11. It was hard to avoid the overwhelming praise it was receiving when it initially launched in February of last year, and as someone who never really gravitated to card games, I was definitely skeptical. Even after hearing that it borrowed some of my favorite elements from roguelike titles like Hades and Returnal, it just didn't speak to me in any meaningful way. But if there's one thing you should know, it's that I don't deal with FOMO very well. So when Jeff Keighley announced that Balatro was up for 5 nominations at the 2024 Game Awards, I had to see what the fuss was about. The premise is actually simple enough. Play combinations of familiar poker hands to score points, called chips, and advance through a series of 24 increasingly tougher rounds, or blinds as they're called here. Every hand type provides you with a preset number of chips and a preset chip multiplier, and each card played will tack on additional chips based on their numerical value. Each blind, you'll be allotted a specific number of hands to play, as well as discards to assist in finding your preferred hands. If you lose, which you will, a lot, you start from scratch. This means losing all progress you've made and starting fresh with your original 52 card deck. However, if you hit your chip requirement, you move on to the next blind with a higher score threshold. As you progress from round to round with higher and higher scoring requirements, you'll face 8 quote-unquote bosses, in which the idea is the same as your normal blind, but the system will tweak your difficulty with a random modifier. This could be something like negating a specific suit, or not allowing repeat hands, and while the task might be manageable in the beginning of your run, it becomes much more difficult as you win. But what fun would it be if you couldn't level the playing field? And that's where the chaos of Balatro gets its hooks in you. The game offers literally hundreds of ways to gain advantages across dozens of mechanics. At the end of each blind, players will have a chance to arm themselves with their own randomly rolled modifiers in Balatro's in-game store, bending the game in ways that best suit their strategy as they progress. These modifiers change every time you start a new run, so you need to consistently adapt and mold your strategy according to what's available to you. I'd be lying if I told you I've even uncovered everything there is at your disposal. But let's go through the basics. First and most important are your jokers. There are currently 150 different jokers available in-game, and each one implements specific rule sets that tweak how you accumulate chips, how you build hands, and how you gain in-game currency to purchase new cards. Examples could be that 7s net you bonus chips, or that your first face card in every hand counts twice towards your score. During any given run, you can generally accumulate 5 jokers, all stacking their effects together to create a massive scoring modifier or game-breaking advantage. And this is where the first and most obvious strategy of Balatro comes into play. Finding a combination of jokers that complement each other in a way that ensures the highest score possible. Stacking modifiers that work well together is the key to a successful run, and testing different combos is crucial to mastering the game. For example, you could have a joker that provides all cards in the diamond suit with extra multiplier points, and couple that with a joker that provides you with 80 additional chips anytime you play a flush. Now, anytime you play a flush that consists of all diamond suit cards, you take advantage of both perks. This requires early foresight at the beginning of your run, but also adaptability as your available modifiers change. Aside from jokers, you have several other types of cards to assist in completing your run. For example, booster packs add new cards to your deck and grow your overall card count. Planet cards upgrade the base scoring for individual hands. Tarot cards add modifiers to individual cards or jokers, and can even change card suit types. Spectral cards, like tarot cards, can add modifiers to individual cards, but usually in larger volume or with more beneficial perks. Vouchers add passive benefits that affect your entire run, such as increasing your hand size or discounting items in the store that appear after every blind. Tags allow you to skip a blind and gain a rare perk, but this comes at the expense of also skipping that blind store and in turn skipping the cards you could have purchased. Outside of these cards, you can even unlock new decks with passive perks that affect your entire run, and stakes that conversely add passive difficulty modifiers. And while all these modifiers can help boost your scoring possibilities, your resources to buy them are limited. Beating blinds provides you with small payments based on your performance, but you'll be forced to choose how to spend your hard-earned cash. While there are ways to pad your earnings, Generally speaking, you'll need to make hard choices in how you spend your money. Making these compromises over what cards you choose adds an additional layer of risk and reward to your run. Nothing hurts more than the thought of, what if I had buffed my flushes with a planet card instead of boosting my aces with a tarot card? In retrospect, this constant trial and error, pushing and pulling through hundreds of strategies, and remaining flexible to the will of randomly rolled modifiers and RNG is what makes Balatro so addicting and so refreshing. It's the epitome of the one more round feeling. Losing drives you to rethink your general approach, with the roguelike twist of tweaking your strategy on the fly. On the flip side, winning brings you back just to feel the satisfaction of watching your point ticker skyrocket when the stars align and you get that perfect combination of jokers. Every coin blip, card flip, and score fire gives you the warm and fuzzies, forcing you to chase that high every hand. It delivers the perfect dopamine hit that keeps you wanting more. And I know it's cliche to say that every time feels like something new, but it truly does. No two runs are the same, so you're always in for a fresh experience. And that constant curiosity for what the next run will look like has turned Balatro into a staple in my household, to the point that dinner conversations have turned into brainstorm sessions or anecdotes about the new jokers we discovered that day. Group chats are now just admissions of defeat, with new friends and family finally understanding the game's hook and giving into the addiction. And it's actually that exact point that presents my only nitpick with Balatro. I'm really not sure what it would look like, but sharing in the experience with others in the form of multiplayer would be a game changer. Imagine a time attack mode where players compete to get the higher score in a given time frame, or a race to see who can play every possible hand first. While the game obviously provides infinite replay value for solo players, having that added option to play with friends and family on a smaller scale would be really cool. You do get a bit of a half step toward multiplayer with the seed mechanic, but it's not a traditional online mode like you'd expect. Seeds let you copy a code that houses all the data from your run. Then you can send that code to your friends and they can actually play through that exact same run with identical combinations of modifiers. It's a nice compromise while I cross my fingers for a dedicated PvP mode. Balatro has taken over every morsel of free time I have, and when I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. If you had told me 12 months ago that one of my Game of the Year contenders for 2024 would be a roguelike deck builder from a single independent developer based on a card game I have zero reverence for, I would have told you were crazy. But Balatro proves that sometimes games don't need deep lore, or long-running character arcs, or finely tuned hand-eye coordination. Sometimes they just need to press all the right buttons.